Hello, friends, and welcome to episode number 110 of Nostalgia Talk. Huh, not gonna lie, that doesn't have as much of an exciting feel as I thought it would. Every time we get into the tens, it's like, hey, it's episode number 50, it's episode number 80, 90, 100. This just honestly feels like just another episode. Wait till we get to 150. That's probably when it's going to start feeling like, oh, this is the big one again. So, I'm James. Welcome to the show. Joining me today is Nick Balaban.
Hi, how are you?
I am quite well. Thank you for coming on the show. It's good to have you here.
Oh, thanks. It's great to be here. Is this really the 100th show?
110.
110. All right. Well, yeah, you're right. Not as exciting as 100.
Yeah, we did 100 back in November.
Yeah, but amazing that you've had so many.
Yeah, I've been doing this. It'll be 5 years in October. Oh my God, can you believe that it's been 5 years almost already? Wow.
Wow, that's great.
Now, for anybody who doesn't know, Nick is a musician, composer, writer, and also actor on occasions. He is, of course, most well known as a composer, mainly as one of the primary composers for the Nick Jr. TV show Blue's Clues. You'd remember the songs like It's Mail Time or Blue Skidoo Weekend 2. Basically, a good chunk of what you and I grew up with on Blue's Clues. A good chunk of it was probably written by Nick, and in addition to that, he also wrote an episode of Blue's Clues and did the voice of Mr. Salt, and also did music for Word World and Bubble Guppies.
Wow. Yeah, you've done some research there. Yeah, that's true. And wrote music for an episode of Pagan Cat
Oh, okay.
and a thing called Go Noodle, which is not a show per se, but it's an internet thing that they use in schools, and a lot of people know songs like "Kitty High Five" that and songs like that I did the music for. But
That honestly sounds like a song that a lot of kids in school would be familiar with. Kitty High Five. That would be,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it was sure, but yes, wow, I'm impressed that you knew all that.
hmm Well, let's go back in time a little bit, for a show nostalgia talk. Let's get really nostalgic here. As I said, you've had a career that's gone quite all over the place, but for the most part, as I said, you're mostly known as a composer. How did you first become interested in music? Like, what inspired you to get into that field?
I have no idea. I still don't know. I've been asked that a lot. And I just think I've always I mean, it surprises me when people don't seem to be particularly interested in music. It's to me it's there's just nothing more exciting.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
kind I yeah, I mean, I'm a film worker. That's my job, and most film people really do love music. And one of the reasons that I think that is because every scene in a TV show or a movie has a rhythm. I mean, like
mhm.
when we listen to the scores of films, and there's very, very powerful moments in a lot of movies that I feel if we're just left completely silent, and some of the time if they are left completely silent, it feels very, very powerful.
Yeah.
But sometimes it just feels like it goes on a little bit too slowly. Like I was watching a movie that didn't really have a lot of score not too long ago.
Yeah.
But if it does have a score, kind of like to the point where some of the characters make some kind of realization, and there's a really powerful score, then that definitely has a rhythm in the way that it's going to go next.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. All all movies, all scenes in theater, everything has a rhythm. Um, include and down to our breathing and heartbeats and the way we
Yeah.
walk. And when people tell me, "Oh, I wish I could be musical," you're musical, I'm not, and I have to disagree. I feel like everybody is musical. It's just a matter of getting in touch with your music.
hmm So was theater ever something you had an interest in?
Oh yeah. I'm not uh I never trying to think. I don't think I had any theater before college. And in college, I hardly had any. I had playwriting and, intro to acting or something like that. But I loved those classes and I loved being in, uh, I don't know, whatever theatrical things I could be in. I've told friends of mine um, that are in theater all the time. I said, if you ever need somebody to just go on stage and deliver a letter, I'll do that. I don't uh, need a big role, and I love a small role because I can really research it.
So, do you remember your very first ever gig?
Music gig, yeah. Uh, let's see. I think, boy, that's hard. That's a tough one. Um, I think, well, with a band, it would have been with a band that I was in while I was in middle school.
Oh,
And,
okay.
and I was in a couple bands in middle school. And one of them was a band called Contraband.
That is a funny name.
It is. And we played,
Contraband the band. I love that.
yeah,
I love it.
exactly. And we played at such places as nursing homes and bookstores and anywhere, libraries, just anywhere we could find any kind of a gig, and schools. Um, and I think what we played a little bit of jazz, a little bit of fusion. Um, yeah, it was just it was a lot of fun and a bunch of originals. I played in another band. I think it was called Paradox, and we played private parties. Uh, I think those were my first gigs. I can't really remember. And my dad had a bookstore, um, and I played with that band at the bookstore a few times. Um, but yeah, it was. I mean, these are great memories. Even though there was no glory attached to these gigs, as defined by um, the contemporary American zeitgeist. I would say there's no glory in any of those, but there was plenty of glory. It was great.
So, what were you like more interested in? Like, because you said that you would do like jazz and fusion. Were those like some of your big interests musically?
Oh yeah, yeah, I loved it.
Okay.
Uh, um, I mean, it's amazing as I'm 62 now, and I'm talking about a time when I was 13 and 14, and I really didn't know anything about anything then. And now I'm old enough to know that I still don't know anything about anything. But then I wasn't sure. Then I thought I knew a lot. Um, but I loved early on. I loved people like Dizzy Gillespie. Um, my cousin for my 13th birthday, I think it was, gave me McCoy Tyner's Trident, which really turned me on to McCoy Tyner, who, if you don't know, I recommend anything he's ever done is brilliant and wonderful. and Jethro Tull's Aqualung, which was also great. So I've always been into a lot of a million different kinds of music.
Okay.
Uh, my first records were like Meet the Beatles and the Jackson Five, Looking Through the Windows, and I think the Osmonds was one. And yeah, I mean, and my parents had some records that I loved.
So, how did you get involved in doing Blues Clues?
Well, I had done music for a couple shows before Blues Clues that were
Okay.
um, not series, just single shows on PBS.
Okay. So kind of like specials or
Yeah.
okay.
Um, One of them was called The Red Booth. Um, that was the first one, which was about a literally a red booth that was put into, I think it was a cafeteria in a school, in several schools. And a middle schooler could go into the booth alone and record his or her uh, thoughts about life. So it was a way to uh, get to know the intimate lives of middle schoolers who were underrepresented in media and um, particularly girls. And then the second show was called The Girls Show, and that was when I think it was five girls that were pretty young. I think also middle school were given a production team and they were given free reign to make their own little shows. Um, so I was hired to make music for those things, which was great fun. And the producer was Karen Cooper, um, and an associate producer was Tracy Johnson, who called me maybe about a year after that second show and said, "Hey, um, we're working on this show for Nickelodeon called Blueprints about a blue cat." And
Oh, it was originally about a cat. I didn't know that. Wow.
yeah, yeah. Um, and and we're looking for some really organic sounding music, and we thought your music might be great. You should send an audition tape. And at that time, I was playing in a band with Mike Rubin, and I did not have a facility to make real recorded music in. Um, I was the music I had done for those other shows, I had done with synthesizers and sequencers, and even though it had an organic feel to it, it really wasn't organic enough. I felt it really needed to be real instruments. Um, and Mike had a facility. He was making commercial music, and um, so he agreed to to do it with me, and we'd use his studio. So that's how, and we made a tape using a bunch of our friends playing all kinds of instruments and all kinds of things, and we sent it to Tracy, and we got the job.
And
So
for the listeners who don't know, Tracy Page Johnson, who Nick is mentioning, is of course the creator of Blue's Clues, and not only that, but the voice of the title character of Blue. So she also did the
Exactly. Wow, that was good.
Thank you. I
Yeah, she
I
created.
did that once at work. I was working at a rental facility for film equipment, and one of my coworkers comes in with a striped sweater, like greenish blue and purple striped sweater, and
Perfect.
his name's Sheldon. Sheldon has young kids, so he'd be familiar with Blue's Clues. He comes in, and I was like, "Oh my God, Sheldon, you look exactly like Steve from Blue's Clues." And so I snuck into one of our guys' offices and drew a paw print on his whiteboard. He comes back and he's like, "Who the hell did that?" And I said, "Ooh, you found a clue. Hey, Sheldon slash Steve, we found Blue's Clues."
That's great. Yeah, yeah. Tracy and Angela Santamero and Todd Kessler at that time, they created the show in the beginning. Yeah.
Mhm. Now, Blue's Clues, I have to say, was a huge, huge part of my life. In addition to doing that as an adult, sometimes I would do it around my house when I was like single digit kid, and I hadn't really watched a lot of Blue's Clues in a long time until very recently getting ready for this. It's a very, very charming show. I can imagine a lot of listeners here grew up with it and are very, very familiar with it and also with its context. Um, yeah, and actually, the first show I ever worked on was sort of like a little mix of Blue's Clues, Scooby Doo, and The Wiggles in some ways, and in the ways that there was a lot of puppets and animation and live action, a lot of mystery to it. It was actually called The Clue Kids.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, and it was these kids that would go out mostly into the wilderness, basically. Like we did, it was just a little short form show, but we did episodes like in the woods and stuff like that. And the clues were not like paw prints. It was just like trying to fix a radio tower was what it was. And if you did a task, you'd get a piece of it.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
It was a lot of fun. I recently just worked with the crew that did that show again on another little project that hasn't come out yet, but no, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, it did have a very Blues Clues type feel to it.
Oh, that's great.
So, how did you get to become the voice of Mr. Salt?
Well, for there was for Blues Clues, once we got the job, by the time we got the job, it was Blues Clues and it was a blue dog, and they needed an in-house pilot, meaning they had to make a short pilot episode for Nickelodeon to sign off on, to say, okay, we're going to do this show for real. Um, And for that show, I was both Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper, and I was just using what I thought to be kind of Brooklyn accents. Um, and that was used, and they got the job, and then they said, "Well, we don't want these accents. We want something more exotic." And a woman that used to work for Nickelodeon in their offices said that she could do a French accent, and they said, "Okay, you can be Mrs. Pepper." And then they called me and they said, "Can you do a French accent?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do it." So, uh, so that's how it started. And then she moved to California, and but the character stayed French. So that's how it happened.
So, I'm trying to remember Mr. Salt and Mrs. Pepper in my head. I remember Mr. Salt with the French accent,
Yeah.
but like was so Mrs. Pepper was recast to another person, and it was like just do a French accent.
Yeah, originally it was Penelope Jukes. Um, and I don't know that she might have been in an episode or two or a
Okay.
few. But then when she moved, it became Spencer Caden, who was a friend of mine from do you know the Broadway show Urinetown?
Can't say that I do.
Well, there's a terrific Broadway show um, called Urinetown that is a very funny musical comedy. And before it was on Broadway, it was in the Fringe Festival, and I was in it as an actor, and my friend Spencer was in it also acting. And she went on, she was the only one who went on to continue with the show when it went to Broadway. But in the meantime, I also, she also came in to be Mrs. Pepper. So that's who's Mrs. Pepper when it changed.
I love that. Mr. Salt, his wife, Mrs. Pepper.
Yeah.
Although I can imagine if they're married, her last name, she would probably adopt the last name Salt as well. Her maiden name is probably Pepper. And their children, Cinnamon and Paprika. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a wacky family. And I wondered if maybe Dr. Pepper was their pediatrician. I don't know. But
That's an interesting pediatrician, all just 100% sugar.
yeah. Yeah, sweet guy. Uh,
Oh,
my daughter was Cinnamon in the beginning because
wow.
I mean when she was just born, I would chase her around with a microphone, and, and she was just like a newborn, just making baby sounds, and that's what we used for Cinnamon when Cinnamon was just born.
That's cute.
Yeah, that was nice.
So, one of the things that I think a lot of people really remember about Blues Clues, and actually one of a lot of previous guests who have come on here have been from Bear in the Big Blue House. And
Mhm.
one of the things that we've discussed, and Noel McNeil, who played Bear on that show, basically agrees that Steve from Blues Clues was a lot like Mr. Rogers. In like in the way that he was so welcoming. Like he would be the first one you'd see on the show, and he'd be like, "Oh, hey there, how are you?" And then
Yeah,
just start talking about what they were going to be doing that day, and he'd just look at the viewer as if he was actually talking to somebody and would say, "Do you want to do it with us?" Well,
yeah.
let's see what Blue wants to do today. Blue, what do you want to do today? And then it would just kind of go from there. But I think Steve is the thing that a lot of people remember um, because he was and as adults, like my friends and I think a lot about these shows from when we were kids. Steve was just such a wholesome host. I actually just saw something on Instagram the other day. We have these negative names for negative people like Karen and Kevin and all this, but why don't we name wholesome people Steve? Because of and Steve Burns was there and Steve Irwin was there as well. And that kind of makes me wonder, did you have much of an interaction with Steve Burns at all?
Oh yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah. I mean, and he really is that person. I
I
mean,
believe it.
to this day, and he's a terrific uh, person.
Mhm.
He's he's what we call in the city a mensch,
Mhm.
and
He really
yeah.
is a Steve.
Oh yeah, yeah, and uh, and this idea of looking at the camera and the idea of modeling after Mr. Rogers was, I think, uh, an idea that he and particularly Angela Santamero, like, I think that was something they really emulated. Like uh, they all really loved Mr. Rogers and that show and how uh, vital it was for so many people.
Yeah, it's a better show for the kids when it comes to having like a character greet you as if because they it really does feel like they're actually talking to you and they're including you in their own activities. Like Sesame Street's done that. Bear in the Big
Yeah,
Blue House, Mr. Rogers, Blue's Clues, like those are Dora the Explorer was a lot like that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the really good ones are the ones where the people who are greeting you, the people whose job it is to do that, are actually doing it.
Yeah.
Are like they really, you know, Steve really did that. Like he really was talking to you and anybody who was watching, and he still does.
Mhm. And
Yeah.
after Steve took off, they brought in the character Steve's older brother Joe, who of course was played by Donovan Patton. And
Yeah, I
I
know.
remember I mostly remember Joe from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. I just seem to have more memories of Joe.
Yeah.
What was it like working with Donovan?
Oh, he was. I mean, they've been really good at casting
Oh
the
yeah.
Blue's Clues people. Donovan is another sincerely wonderful guy. Um, yeah, he had in a way it was a harder thing for him in that Steve had really created this role. I mean, Steve um, became an icon and the living representative of the show. And
I love how they named his character after him, but for Donovan, they just were like, "Hey, we got a new name for you."
I think that was also Steve's advice to Donovan
Oh,
was
okay.
don't use your own name
I mean,
because
it's
it is
pretty easy because both of them are just one syllable.
yeah, yeah, and it would be hard. That would be hard to have to spend so much time separating your real life uh from the life of the show.
Yeah.
Um, but in any case, yeah, Donovan was great. He stepped in and he had to jump through all these hoops that were already set up, and he did. Yeah.
Great. So, what are some of your favorite Blues Clues songs? You know, on a lot of these shows, a lot of us remember a lot of the songs, and you, of course, did a lot of the songs.
Oh, the songs are so great. There's just too many.
Hmm.
um, I I don't I don't have favorites. I mean
Okay.
I mean I guess I liked a lot of them. Like uh oh boy, I can't remember the name of that Rain song. Uh and now I can't even remember the melody. The the song about the rain. When when I have to remember something, you'll see when you're in your 60s, names, melodies, all kinds of things. They just kind of they're on the other side of a window that wasn't there before. Um,
Well, one of my favorite Blues Clues songs that I can remember very well was the theme around the time that Joe kind of took over, and it was "It's Another Blues Clues Day Today." I don't know if you wrote that.
yeah, yeah. Mike and I wrote that together. Yeah. Well, we
Okay.
wrote everything together. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
That.
wasn't sure how much of it was divided or yeah.
Yeah. For that show, we really everything was pretty collaborative. Um, so that was one. Silly hat. I always get tickled from. Why are we such good friends? All those things from Blues Big Musical. I love. There it is. There's and As Smart as Me. I love that one. Um, Paprika's Lullaby. Oh,
Aw.
the Bedtime Business. Um, yeah. I mean, there are. I I can get sentimental over a lot of it. It's, today's
What
the day.
One that I was just thinking of was Wacky Wild World. That just really like I can't remember if that was a Steve episode or a Joe episode, but I remember it very well that they were playing Blues Clues in this world that one of them had created and literally
Right.
named it Wacky Wild World.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a faint memory of that one. Yep.
So, what was it like to the other show I remember from when I was a kid on this topic of Blues Clues is the spin-off with the puppets, Blues Room,
Right.
in yeah, which Blue actually had an actual speaking voice as opposed to going "Bark, bark, 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 bark." What was it like
Mhm.
to work on that show?
Oh, that was great. I mean, the puppeteers, the talent
Yeah,
was great. You know, like you said, I think Cheryl Blaylock was on your show,
she was. Yep.
and she was one of the puppets, and she's terrific. She was
It's funny because she played Frederica, who I had kind of forgotten about at that point, and as she's talking about her, I'm reminded that Frederica was obsessed with birthdays for
right.
whatever the reason was, and ironically, I had just turned 22 at the time.
Oh, that's great.
Like I had just been like maybe 2 or 3 days into
Yeah,
out from my birthday, and Cheryl's like, "Oh yeah, I call her Frederica the birthday freak." I was like, "Oh, I could have had her over here the other day."
yeah, yeah. And I think Tyler Bunch was one of the in
Yeah, that
he.
was guest number 100, Tyler Bunch.
Oh, okay. So I didn't even know he was on your show, but yeah, he's great. He was on Word
Yes.
World as well.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah. I mean, it was a great it was a good it was a great show. We had a lot of fun with that one.
Yeah, I saw that it was on not too long ago, and I really had nothing better to watch, so I just kind of flipped it on, and I see Joe in Blue's room getting ready to go to bed. I thought to myself, these are puppet sized. Like, clearly, these guys are really, really good sports if they're willing to put themselves in that much discomfort.
Yeah.
Hmm. And you also recently got to be a part of the recent reboot series, Blues Clues and You.
Yeah. Yeah. I that was great.
I'm still mad that I didn't get the chance to audition for that show. I was in college at the time. I was like, I need to stick with this.
Ah, well, uh they stopped making them.
Right.
So I don't know how many. If you got it, you probably would have been disappointed because then it would have stopped almost as soon as it started. Which is how it felt for me. I did 5 episodes and the movie,
Hmm.
and I'm so thankful that I got to do even that. And I don't know that the podcast ever got off the ground, but I did some work for a podcast, a
Oh,
Blues and You podcast, but I don't think that ever
like like a fan podcast or something that they were doing themselves.
something they were doing
Oh
themselves.
wow.
But
We've
uh,
been seeing a lot of that these days. These kids shows now have little curricular podcasts. That's yeah, that's cool that Blues Clues was trying to do that too.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, I mean, if I mean that was a great thrill. Great to be in the movie too. That was um
Did it feel any different doing the movie as opposed to doing a TV show? Because like most of the work that I've done is with TV shows, and it's a pretty hefty process. Movies tend to go a little bit longer.
uh I think it was basically the same for me.
Okay.
Um as doing a VO character uh and pretty much the same process. I have lines and I give them alternate lines and I uh, would improvise here and there if I thought there was something interesting that could happen in the scene. Um, and because it wasn't fully animated yet, they would have the choice. They could um, uh, but yeah, it's basically the same for me, and I think much different for the people making it.
Mhm. So you brought up Word World. God, that's so hard to say. Word World.
Yeah,
Um,
it takes a little while.
it's a tongue
Once
twister.
yeah,
Hmm.
once you get used to word world, it's you know, when you say word world a bunch of
Yeah,
times.
especially if you're Tyler Bunch or Peter Linz,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they worked
exactly.
on it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Peter Lin's another he was amazing.
Oh yeah, great, great friend of mine.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, he was amazing in word world. I think now
Hmm.
I'm having trouble. Um, but yeah, he and yeah, I mean that group of people was another pool of talent that was mind blowing.
What was it like to be a part of that show?
Uh, it was terrific. It was very different process. It was, I guess every show is made in a different way, and
Oh yeah.
every producer has a different vision of how they want their show to be done and how they want it to look and feel. And Alexa Herwick, who produced that show, he had a very specific vision, uh, and it meant that I was not writing words for those songs. They wrote um, most of the words. I would maybe tweak things here and there, but I think they had their uh, general ideas laid out. Is that right? I think that's right. And
Given the fact that the words were written on the characters.
yeah, there's that. Yeah. Um, and the and it was in a way it was a lot more cinematic than Blues Clues. The world was much more of a contained world, or well, how do you? I guess it was different. I mean, Blues Clues had the feeling of a home, that really, like, there was a home base to Blues Clues. And then you go through the picture and it's a field trip. And then you come back to the home. And it's very comfy. Word World, the whole thing was a fantasy place, that moved from place to place. And the way the camera was, I mean, it's animated, so I'm not sure what that means, the camera, but the way that it seemed it was being filmed was
Yeah.
based on movies. It was very cinematically done. So the music also, uh, I thought it should also be cinematic, and really sound like movie music. But the funny thing about it was because everything was so tiny about Word World. The characters were made of letters, as you say, and the whole world was made of letters. Um,
Yeah, like the fence literally just was the word fence.
exactly.
Pig
Tree,
literally was
tree.
spelled the word pig all over.
Right.
Duck, frog.
Yeah. So I made the instrumentation for that show very small.
Okay.
We used mostly melodica, um, guitars here and there, um, a trombone, uh, bass. A lot of times there was no bass. Sometimes piano. Rarely drums, but sometimes a lot of little percussion. But it was tiny. But it was tiny things playing big cinematic music, and that was really fun for me. That was a blast.
So, are you working on anything new at the moment that you can talk about?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'm always working on stuff.
Okay.
Uh I'm working on a new record. I have a record called Hello Cruel World. That's my own, I don't know, songs for adults.
I was gonna
Uh
say, it doesn't sound like a kid's show.
no, it's but I don't know. Um I've always had the feeling that kids and adults uh can generally enjoy the same sounds.
Hmm.
And they're going to have different understandings of what they're hearing, um, uh, but yeah, there's so I have that record that has a few songs and a lot of instruments, a lot of heavy production. Um, the guy that ended up mixing it, um, who also did the sound for Word World, Nathaniel Reichman, uh, did sound for Philip Glass, and he does John Luther Adams records, like
Oh, wow.
these huge. And I think he did Poiana Scotzi, a Philip Glass movie. But he's a real audiophiles engineer, and it was a big production, that record. This next record that I'm making now is a small record,
Okay.
small band, mostly live. The last record had a lot of live stuff, but this one has many more songs, and it's just that's the plan anyway. And working on that. I'm playing in a whole bunch of bands. One of them is called the NYC Ska Orchestra, which is a 20-piece ska band. Um,
Ooh.
yeah, and it's run by Kevin Batchelor, a great trumpet player and singer and person. And it's Jamaican ska music as applied to all kinds of music. Um, the people in the band are, for the most part, versed in jazz, but also in reggae and ska. And uh, we do all kinds of music, and I arranged a few things for that band. Um, and Walter Hawks, who played trombone on both Blues Clues and Word World, and wrote music for Blues Clues in the later episodes.
The
He
original Blues Clues or Blues Clues and You?
the original.
Okay.
Um, and
Because I hear later episodes and my mind goes right to the reboot.
yeah, um, right. I guess yeah. Later for me, but yeah, these are yeah. I'm still, I don't know, playing with a lot of the same guys, and it's great.
That's awesome. Well, that's all I've got here. Is there anything you want to say to wrap up?
You got a great show here.
Yeah, thank
Um,
you.
yeah. Um, yeah. Good luck with it. And 110 is nothing to sneeze at. That's a great thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, next up is 111, triple one.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
What does it mean? I don't know. But my favorite number is 117. So we will see. That's my lucky number.
All
It just follows
right.
me everywhere.
All
So
right. Well, there are some shows that haven't been announced yet that are still being finalized.
yeah.
And to anybody listening, you guys know where you're going to hear the announcements for that. Follow Nostalgia Talk on social media if you're interested to hear what's coming up. Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky Social. Those links are in the description. And Nick, thanks again for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
Great.
And I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
All right.